Hello, dear sisters. This is part 4 of reader questions from those of you who've read my book, What All Spirit Babies Want Their Mamas to Know. And I'm answering two questions today, but they both have a similar theme, having to do with divine timing. Um, the first one I want to tackle is really about pre-birth communication or wishful thinking. Uh, I always tell people if you think you're having pre-birth communication, then you are. And your baby there definitely is there talking to you. But sometimes your own desires and wishful thinking can cloud communication, especially when we're talking about timing. So I heard from a woman who's been having dreams that her baby's telling her exactly when they're going to come. Like you're pregnant now, or you're going to be pregnant next week, or, something like that. Or the dream keeps changing and it's all about timing. Um, and for those of you who've had readings from me, I don't do timing. I absolutely don't do timing. That is something I learned on my own through my own journey. When I was starting to tap into the world of pre-birth communication, of course I wanted to know timing. I think that's what every mom probably wants to know first is when are you coming? Because we want that baby so much. So we are so invested in the time and when they're coming, and we want to get that message from the baby. In my personal experience, you just don't talk timing to the babies because it's different. They don't have the concept of time that we do. Time is a human construct here in this 3D world. To your baby who has this expansive view on the other side, what is imminent to them could be 3 months for us or next year for us. They don't have the same view or concept or attachment to time. And in my experience, from my own personal experience and the readings I've done, they don't talk about time too much. And for a couple of reasons. The first one that I just said, that they don't have that concept or that attachment to time. But then also things can change along the way that change the timing. So, you're always in a different place wherever you are, in whatever your vibration, so the timing can always change. So I don't touch timing. Um, I was going to say, when I started experiencing pre-birth communication, I absolutely asked my baby when you were coming. I had just had a miscarriage. I wanted my baby back. I would even use a pendulum, but when it comes to timing, the things I thought I was getting, they didn't pan out. They just didn't pan out. The timing and relying on a certain timing can be very disappointing and very distracting, which I will talk about with the second question. Um, and when it comes to timing, I have learned so much about timing and how we cannot control or rush it or even predict it. When I was doing my birth plan for my first baby, I made this belief list, 24 beliefs that I had, and 21 of them came true, actually happened. The 3 that didn't all had to do with time. The amount of time my labor would be in, the amount of time it would take my placenta to come out, and another timing one. Timing isn't important to anyone except us. And if you're getting signs from your baby that this is when they're going to come and that's what you're fixated on, chances are that is your own desire and your own wishful thinking clouding the issue. Now, there are sometimes exceptions, I must say that. I recently did a reading for a very high vibrational woman who had been doing her work and was having a reading just for fun. She didn't need it. She absolutely didn't need it. She was in such a good place, but she wanted to do it just for fun. And with her, I got specific timing when she would get pregnant and when the baby was coming. And I didn't even want to tell her, but it was obvious, and it combined, it validated the messages she got on her own, that she would get pregnant when I said, and that she would have the baby when I said. Um, Even if I gave her this information, I said, I don't like to give timings, but this was very obvious. So there are exceptions, but only if you've really put in the work, if you've cleared yourself, if you've cleansed yourself, if you're at a level where you're absolutely ready. I mean, her baby was coming the next month, according to my reading. Again, that's very, very rare right now. It is very rare right now. And if you are fixated upon the time, um, and forgetting everything else, then this is a distraction. And if you're having dreams about it, it doesn't mean that you're wrong. It just means maybe you're working some stuff out, coming to the surface. It's coming to the surface. The timing thing can be really, really tricky. But in my experience, babies really just don't say, I'm going to be here. Um, and the reason for that is because it's not important to them. The timing is not important to them. The vibration is important to them. The vibration is important to you. Um, and when you're in this very high vibration, time can actually just sort of dissolve. And the more you go on your journey, the more you're going to see when you're playing outside there with time and trying to make stuff happen, and trying to get stuff done and trying to figure something out, you're on the outside of the vibration. You'll notice a difference when you're coming from this heart-centered place, because time sort of dissolves and you're like, oh, right, this is the holodeck. This is where I create stuff. And time isn't as relevant any longer. I need a drink. Hold on. So, dear sister, you who are thinking about the time, there's other things to look at here. And the rest of this woman's question ties into another woman's question. And just very loosely, she's in a situation where she's not able to see her husband all the time. So they only have certain times where they can see each other and try for the baby. And in a very similar way, she's fixated on the time of, I'm only seeing him then, and I'm not ovulating then, and I just want to do this. I just want to do this. And I totally get it, because I have been there. This woman had a miscarriage, and there's something about a miscarriage that just makes you want to be pregnant again right away. It was the hardest time in my life, one of the hardest times in my life, having that first miscarriage, and then trying to conceive and not being able to, and missing windows, and my body was all messed up, and I just couldn't make it happen. She's trying to make something happen here in a certain amount of time. And again, that's something, and I know it's so frustrating. Even where I am right now, divine timing can still be so frustrating. I mean, we always want to speed it along. We always want to know. But we have to let that go, because it really can be just a distraction. And I say this in my book, and I'll say it again right now, but delays are protection. Protection against the highest, a protection against us not getting the highest possible outcome. If we want the highest possible outcome, we have to trust that we're going to get it. We have to relax into it and trust the timing of it. And the only thing we can do is work on our vibration, work on what brings us joy, work on loving ourselves as much as we can. And I'm not going to say it's easy. It's absolutely not easy. Even though I'm in a place where there is much more flow and acceptance and self-love, I'm not going to say it's easy all the time. It absolutely is not. I know how to deal with the up and down cycles. It doesn't mean I like it. In fact, I often still really hate it. I had a really, really rough week this past few days. I was paralyzed for 3 days. I couldn't move my neck, which led to a migraine. And I'm like, what the hell? After all this time, I'm still doing this. But there were so many lessons to be learned there. and a huge expansion taking place. So even in the ups and downs, and when we're really in a bad place, if we can love ourselves through it, and if we can see the higher picture and know on the other end of it, you're going to be in a more expanded place. So do whatever you can, dear sisters, to just let go of the timing. I know it's hard, but when you are in that heart-centered place, the timing is not as important right now. And when you're in that heart-centered place, that really high vibration, you feel more whole unto yourself. We get so fixated on the timing of things because we think we need those things to make us whole. And if we're still searching and reaching for things to make us whole, then that means there's more work to be done right here. We have to realize we already are whole. We have to love all the parts of ourselves back together. And that means the parts that we haven't looked at before, the parts that we hide away from everybody, the parts that we hide away from ourselves. There's a lot of work to be done here. And if we're still looking for things outside of us, whether it's a relationship or a job or abundance or a baby or perfect health even, if we're looking for anything outside of us to show us that we're whole, then there's just more work to do. So those of you sisters that are so concerned with the timing because you're thinking, that's what I need to make myself whole, there's still some work to be done here. And I know it's frustrating, but you're going to get that guidance now. You know, open yourself to the guidance. What's the next level here? I'm ready for the next level. And trust the timing of it all. There's nothing you need to do to make it happen. And when you are in that heart-centered space, tracking cycles and stuff becomes irrelevant. You don't even have to know. You don't have to know. There's spontaneous ovulation, which is the way of it. That's going to be the way of it. No more needless cycles. You know, it'll happen when it's supposed to happen without us trying to figure out or make it happen. Granted, that's still a ways away, but that's what we're working up for, and we can make it happen within our own lives right now. So, to wrap up, wishful thinking versus pre-birth communication. If it has to do with time, I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say that's wishful thinking. The babies don't concern themselves with it, especially when we're trying to make it happen. If we're trying to make something happen, there's still some holing that needs to go on in here. And you'll notice the difference too when you shift to the outside, making it here, to the inside here that makes things happen for you and with you and along with you. It's a big difference there. I hope this helps. If you are one of those ones that are struggling with divine timing and just want to take the next level, I do recommend my self-love videos, Self-Love 1 and Self-Love 2. Both can be found on the Awakening series. And just trust. You know, it's a hard journey, it is, but there is so much pockets of joy along the way. And you got this, sisters. You do. Your babies are with you, and they'll come in the perfect timing, and it'll be so much better because you waited. All right? I love you.